everyone, and welcome to the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show, live on Rumble, where facts come first and where news is done right. So much to cover today, including the continued momentum of Donald Trump's 2024 campaign and his new plan to dismantle the federal bureaucracy. National Pulse editor-in-chief and MAGA rock star Raheem Kassam will join us in studio to break it all down. And House Judiciary Chairman Congressman Jim Jordan will be here with the very latest on new whistleblowers coming forward to expose another Biden scandal. But first, Tucker Carlson is breaking his silence following his exit from Fox News, putting out a video on Twitter last night where he reflected on the need to have honest conversations and highlighted the failures of our political and media establishments. Take a look.
Honest people say what's true calmly and without embarrassment. They become powerful. At the same time, the liars who've been trying to silence them shrink and they become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some, and that's enough. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon.
Well, now the video has racked well over 18 million views and comes amid growing speculation about what Tucker's next move might be. Come to Rumble. But one thing is for sure, that free, fair, and honest voices are as vital as ever, especially as much of the media is still eager to go on offense for Joe Biden and the extreme left. Because meanwhile, Joe Biden's 2024 campaign is apparently underway. I know, snooze alert. And his never-ending struggles, blunders, and outright policy failures continue to prevail. But rather than having a rally or giving a big speech or trying to inspire whatever supporters he possibly has left, he put out a bizarre video that smeared MAGA Republicans as enemies to democracy and focused on January 6th. Take a look.
Freedom. Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans.
There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred.
That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy.
Okay, fighting for democracy, it's been Biden and his allies who have done nothing but try to undermine our democracy. Biden has called his political opponents MAGA extremists. He's compared them to segregationists. He's attacked them at every single turn and opportunity. These are the same people who lied and told you that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, who want to lecture you about democracy. And for Biden and the Democrats, it's all they have left. They can't run on a record of accomplishment. Inflation is still costing Americans more and more. We've seen reckless spending on top of reckless spending. The border is an absolute disaster. Trafficking, a fentanyl crisis. Americans are still concerned about crime and out of control violence on the streets of their communities, all the while Biden still can't string together a sentence or even ask a question without a cheat sheet. At yesterday's press conference, Biden took questions from a pre-approved list that even included the reporter's name, picture, and the actual subject of the question. It's called Presidency for Dummies. It's the Cliff Notes to the White House. Is this really the guy the Democrats think can serve another 4-year term? I'm not even kidding you. Think about that. 4 more years in addition to the 2 left. Mission impossible? But get this, it's apparently not even Biden that they're worried about, as a new report from Axios says that one of the Biden campaign's top concerns is actually repairing the image of Vice President Kamala Harris, who actually has lower approval rating than Biden, or Satan, take your pick. But meanwhile, the momentum for Donald Trump in 2024 is only growing. For example, a new Morning Consult poll finds that Republican primary voters say Trump has the best chance of beating Biden, holding a whopping 29-point advantage over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. And the 45th president continues to move forward on a real plan to deliver on the America First agenda and to dismantle the federal bureaucracy. For example, according to a new report, Donald Trump is looking at reinstituting an executive order known as Schedule F, which would reclassify tens of thousands of federal employees as at-will employees. This is music to my ears. Meaning it would be much easier for a president to fire them. Get him out of here, you're fired. Bye. Contrast that to what we've been seeing from Joe Biden, who wants to just write off half the country as an enemy of democracy, all while he makes one blunder after another. Here he is with the South Korean president this week, looking totally disoriented and not even knowing where he's supposed to go. It's painful, but watch. I don't even want to laugh because it's so bad. He's just wandering off. Where's the Easter Bunny? Where's the Easter Bunny to guide him? The Easter Bunny should travel with him at all times to make sure that Joe Biden knows exactly where he needs to go. But we've got a superstar here in studio to give us all the answers. It's you, Raheem, joining me in studio, editor-in-chief of At the National Pulse, one of the most important MAGA voices there is, the one and only Raheem Kassam. We've been great friends for many years.
Absolutely.
It's great to see you here. See, everyone's coming to Florida, right?
got to pay our visits, got to pay our respects to where it's all happening right now.
Exactly. So Donna and I are happy to have him here with us at our studio. So Raheem, I just want to get your reaction to the video. Let's talk about Tucker Carlson first. What's happening in the media landscape? It's really just a silencing of committed conservatives, one after the next. They're picking them off, and I find the timing to be very suspicious because here it is, 2 years before the 2024 election. Sometimes people have contracts, and then they sign you to an NDA, and you have a non-compete. They pay you out, and they can keep you off the air and from doing anything else, so that you're not an important voice for this important moment in American political history. Take it away.
Yeah, they try in many ways to take people off the battlefield. This is one of their ways of doing that. There's plenty of others. Some get exhausted. PR attacks, leaks, all of that sort of thing is well within this. But there's a thing here that's going on in media that I think is very interesting, and it's far from the all change that we see every so often, right? This is a reorienting of both left media and historically right media into this center. It's actually a tactical retreat, is what it is. The general public should feel quite good about what these corporate types are doing right now. They're fleeing from the salient, from the furthest most point on the battlefield, and retreating into themselves. Rupert Murdoch doesn't make a lot of tactical retreats on the battlefield. He's known as pressing, being aggressive, all of that. This is him taking a step back and going, yeah, I don't know where this is all going. I'm not sure where this is all going. And that's a very interesting thing, because I think over the last 6 months, a lot of people, right, not too many, but a lot of people in conservative ink world especially took a step back and said, oh, maybe Trump's not got it anymore. Maybe there's somebody else out there. And, they have their preference.
Right.
And we track that very closely, how all those things work, how all the Paul Ryan stuff operates behind the scenes.
Exactly. Talk about that for 2 seconds,
Yeah.
segue for a second, and then circle back. People need to understand the impact and what it means. I mean, do you watch that show Succession? Just say it on Netflix or whatever. It's not on Netflix. It's like Amazon and like
HBO
Max
right?
or something like that. Yeah. And it's supposed to be about the Murdoch family, right? The very aggressive head of the family and all of the above. But the board of directors always plays a pivotal and integral role. And what people don't realize is Paul Ryan, who was a very, big deal in politics and very much like kind of lightweight Republican writer. I don't know how you would describe him.
Yeah, very plastic, plastic conservative.
Right, plastic conservative. And he's on the board and calling of a lot of shots. And on purpose, Rupert and the Lachlan and Jay and them, they have him there. Yeah. That has a big influence, and I've noticed it on the decision making, the hiring, and what's going on in terms of the overall governance of Fox News.
Yeah, look, last January, not this one just gone, the one a year plus 4 months ago, I put up a podcast that said the coming DeSantis versus Trump war. And everybody at the time said to me, "You're dividing, what are you talking about? You know, stop doing this, driving this wedge." I said, hey, it's going to happen whether I talk about it or not.
Yeah, you were going to be like a fortune teller.
It was
Psychic Friends Network, Raheem.
It was obvious what was going on because it was obvious where a lot of the donor class, the corporate donor class was lining up.
Fair statement.
But it was also obvious in where like Paul Ryan world was lining up. And one of the times that this has really come to fruition in recent weeks is this POS polling that came out. Now, I'm not using that as a euphemism, by the way. That's the name,
of
the polling
We
firm.
don't make this up.
Right. And so I started to look into the background of this company out in Alexandria, Virginia, and I found out that it in turn is owned by a conglomerate, which in turn is owned by a fund who advises the fund. Paul Ryan advises the fund. And who does Fox place on television the most? POS pollsters. You know, POS.
How unbelievable is this, right? I mean, like, hold
This is
your
how it
nose
works.
because this is the swamp.
That's how it works.
Because you don't have to be like swampy and be like just once. It's like the swamp and the establishment is actually encompasses and incorporates both sides,
Yeah.
liberals and some Republicans. It's really true.
So this firm, this pollster, was only purchased a couple of years ago into this wider conglomerate. Who did the conglomerate put in charge as the CEO there? A guy who used to run a company for none other than George Soros. He was a CEO for a Soros company, and he went to lead this right-wing pollster. You can't make that sort of stuff up. And so you start to see all of these things take place. When Trump starts attacking DeSantis at the end of last year, I said, finally, what's taken so long? Because behind the scenes,
Right.
DeSantis world was attacking Trump constantly at the donor level, at the corporate level, at the polling level. It was all there. And I thought actually it took Trump a little too long to start knocking him back.
Right.
You know, he's trying to do it all in a shadow way, all in a very behind the scenes way.
Which is kind of interesting because Trump is definitely much like a front stabber and gets after it and very aggressive. But a lot of people are telling him, don't do it. Don't attack him, have unity in the party, but then you see what happens. It's exactly as you predicted.
But it shows his instincts are correct.
Right.
You know, to this day, the instinct is correct. He's a brawler. He understands when he's taking punches, even if the crowd can't see the punches being thrown from the other side, he knows it and he knows he has to punch back. It's been very interesting because a lot of people see Trump as just the front-facing brawler, right? We all remember the 2015-16 primary season. How wonderful it was to get get some people saying it as it is on the stage like that. But what's been really interesting to watch the last couple of months is also the behind-the-scenes groundwork that's being laid out. And the endorsements, especially as they've been drip-fed, especially out of Florida. I mean, that is doing DeSantis some damage that I think he may not recover from.
Yeah, I think that's a really big deal. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's gone on, and definitely, like, President Trump is a total fighter. Like you said, a brawler. He's, like, straight up, in the ring. He's, like, made for, like, UFC. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And then you see, like, the DeSantis people more being Machiavellian behind the scenes and shadowy, etc. Like, they were always there. You saw them. And now we see them and we smell them. And then you have Trump getting these endorsements, which I think is really a leg sweep. Because you have them coming from Florida, which should be shored up for Ron DeSantis. Yeah. But he's getting people like Byron Donalds, and he's got Corey Mills, and he's got Paulina Luna, and Matt Gaetz, and a lot of people, all the best. And you've got, and then outside of Florida, you've got, but she's here quite a bit as well. I mean, she's all over the place. She never stopped. Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's a lot of people just like, we had Lance Gooden. That was a big deal because he went and, I mean, that was brutal. And he's very well spoken. He's like an up and comer.
Zeldin, huge deal.
Lee Zeldin, amazing. One of our best friends too. That's an incredible fighter. We've done 30,000 Lee Zeldin fundraisers. I'm not kidding you. But he showed very well in New York.
Yes,
it just goes to show you can make inroads.
And people, people don't have to agree with everything Lee Zeldin stands for because, that's very much a more New York-based conservatism, right? It's necessarily going to be a certain way.
He came from the Hamptons, Long Island, whatever.
But
that's
it's
where
a
he was.
big
But he's
deal,
got a great background.
especially because DeSantis world were courting Lee in such a heavy way. And at the end of the day, he turns around and goes, yeah, but you know what? Like, one person here has the right ideas and understands where the target is right now.
Right.
Okay? We don't need somebody getting coached up again for 2, 3, 4 years.
This is what I say.
right?
If there's no time for training
There's no
wheels
time.
here. We
No.
need this like schedule and we need to get rid of the people that are bad. We need to, for once and for all, otherwise they outlive like New York City, you know, cockroaches on the subway. It's like unbelievable. I'm like, didn't I kill you 10 times? Like, here I am. And we don't need it.
Here's the argument we keep hearing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Trump didn't do, from the DeSantis side, oh, Trump didn't do enough in his first 4 years or whatever, you know, he was taking too long to get up to speed and understand how it all works. Yeah, so why do you want to do it again? You know, why do you want to reintroduce that novelty into the policy-making process, into the personnel process?
For what they're even trying to say.
It just kicks the can down the road.
It does. And we don't have time for that, as you see, because listen, we knew it was going to be bad, right? We were talking and everything, but like, did you think it was going to be this bad this quickly? It was like, wow. Like, how bad could Biden go complete? Other direction. All right, so let's talk about Biden now that we brought up Sleepy Joe. What do you think? I mean, even children call him Sleepy Joe. How sad is that? They did a little school project, though. Oh, here, my project is Sleepy Joe. I have the state of Delaware, and they put a thing of Biden taking a nap on their little project display. True story. Oh, man, I got Sleepy Joe. But, here he is.
It's a bad draft
He's
pick,
like, he doesn't know where he's going. He's like very confused. It's embarrassing. We saw that in Ireland, okay? We saw this here now, and he doesn't know where he's going. And they have to keep everything very scripted for him, very contrived. They decide, it's like the whole thing where they've got the pictures. It's like matching the pictures to the words like you're in kindergarten or nursery school.
Remember they made fun of person, woman, camera, man, TV, or whatever it was? Well, I mean, so if that's worthy of making fun of, then what's this guy who's got cue cards in front of him to tell him not just what their name is, not just what their question is, what their question's about, but a picture of them as well, so he can pick them out of the audience. But it goes back to something you said in the open as well.
I don't want him to do poorly, quite frankly. I want him to make the right decisions, and I want him to do well because, unfortunately, he's the American president. But it's not making any of us look good or making us strong as a country. It makes us vulnerable.
But
it's
he's
like
not meant
pick
to do
off
well.
the easy,
He's not meant to do well.
prey.
He's not meant to do well. This is by design. Decline by design.
Go ahead and blow our minds.
But this is the point. In the opening, you said, can we last another 4 years of that? But the truth is, you haven't even had 2 years of it. And I don't mean that 2 years hasn't passed. He's not in charge. That's why it's a regime and not an administration. It's the people behind the scenes who are making the decisions, prioritizing, not just what questions you take.
Right.
Here are the policy things that we're putting on your desk first. You think he's competent enough to turn the pile over and go, actually, remember that, do you ever watch the Crown, the Netflix series?
Yes.
Right? So the king, in the first season of The Crown, gets the box. It's all the things that his ministers want him to read. And he turns it over because he goes, they bury all the bad stuff. You think Biden has the clarity of
that was a
mind
great scene.
to turn that over and go, I know what they're hiding from me, and I'm going to start at the bottom first?
But Trump does.
Doesn't have it.
Trump gets it because it's naturally suspicious to say, what are they hiding? Let's start with the bottom first because they hide the bad stuff on the bottom. So what do you make of this? There's so much I want to ask you about. So it's a regime. It's not administration or a presidency.
Right.
People have a lot of theories about who is actually running the regime, who is in charge. I mean, it's very much still an Obama regime. You have Susan Rice in there, but she just left.
Yep.
Okay. Valerie Jarrett's always behind the scenes somewhere. Say her name 3 times, she'll appear. Right? It's terrifying. I know. Don't let her in the door. But tell me what you think's going on. Who's running things? Are they going to continue to run things? And do you see Joe Biden actually making it across, like a little Pez dispenser, making it across the finish line to be able to actually ultimately be the nominee that runs against Trump?
Look, I think they've plenty of ways to prop him up if they really want to do that, right? Plenty of injections.
They did it last time.
You're right.
Like 3 appearances.
Plenty of shots
COVID.
You can give him to perk him up. And
remember that one
pop
debate?
him
We
in
were
front of the
shocked. He
thing?
was actually barely alive, but still did all right.
If the guy has any more facelifts, he'll be challenging Elon Musk into space. It's ridiculous the things they do to this man to keep him presentable to the ordinary public. But the ordinary public is starting to see through the ruse. And they start to see through the ruse, especially when Joe Biden talks about democracy.
Right.
What democracy? Does the ordinary person in America today feel like they are more or less represented than they were 5, 10, 20 years ago? Less. Does the ordinary person in America feel like when they call their representative's office that it means something and it makes a difference and somebody on Capitol Hill is doing something about it? Less so than any time probably in a long time in America. right? Less probably than a long time in the Western world. I think this presents a really glaring, in soccer we say open goal, right? The ball is waiting to be tapped into the back of the net. And that net is the net of democracy, how you communicate to the public whether or not their will is being executed on. Donald Trump can stand on the stage and say, attack on democracy? What democracy? When do you guys go out to the country and listen to people? He can say, I went to Ohio. I know what's going on there. The mayor of the town, East Palestine, just endorsed, right?
Right, yeah.
And the other guy has no idea. He will be buried in the basement again, for the duration of the next campaign. Of course.
If you're running his campaign, you say, listen, put him out as infrequently as possible, hide him, bury him, protect him, cue card him, bring a change of diapers, bring the napkins to wipe the drool, whatever.
Yeah, you can't have him wandering aimlessly about the stage or, on the campaign trail. It will look ludicrous, and even more ludicrous than it currently is. You have to remind yourself, this is a man who was inaugurated, under a cloud of cages all around the Capitol building, under the cover, picked under the cover of night is when they counted those votes.
Terrible.
Thanks to Mike Pence and his inability to actually do what his job is. He was Mike Pence, I'm sorry, but Mike Pence was very happy to execute executive authority when he was running the task force. Remember the COVID task force? Everybody, on the anti-Trump right says, Trump's task force and all this stuff. He put Mike Pence in charge of that thing.
Right.
Mike Pence was getting Fauci and Birx in every single day. That's not the commander-in-chief's job. He delegated that authority, and Mike Pence was happy to use his authority when it was totalitarian authority against the American public. He wasn't happy to use his authority when it was representing the American public in that Capitol building.
Well, people need to remember that, but I think, the base, understands that, what you're saying, I think is a very cogent point. And, people look for leadership, especially in the times of the most stress and the most, trouble for the country. But it's not resonating well for him for the polls.
Easy to be a leader when times are good, right?
Sure.
Get up on stage, rah, it's all fine, it's all good. When things hit the fan, and this is what this election is going to be about, isn't it?
Pompeo's not resonating, although they would love him to at Fox. They put him on more times than anything, and he's got a whole extreme makeover, like the show they used to have on, like The Swan. They remade him, but that didn't help, right?
CIA guy?
Yeah, Pompeo.
Can't
he's
remake
not
the
doing
CIA guy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
Nikki Haley's probably looking at 8 p.m. now.
Oh,
so she's going to be out of the race pretty soon.
Down, folks. Oh my God.
Yeah, but you got to come back to what this election is going to be about, right? This coming couple of years are going to be about economy, national security. The big points where people need security and safety in their lives. They're going to be looking to Donald Trump, nobody else.
So I want to ask you this too. I want to follow up on one thing really quick, because Susan Rice left. They'll be able to prop up Biden, is what you say. Obama's will still be able to run it and control him. So it's a puppet, like Manchurian candidate, presidency. You think it stays
Do remember that
way?
there's a puppet above that as well, though.
Who's that?
The corporate class. It's the corporate class. It's the World Economic Forum corporate class, the Schwab, the Soros world, where they agree. They came out last week and they said, we are accelerating the Agenda 2030 stuff, right? You own nothing and you'll be happy. We're accelerating it, they said. So Obama's puppet mastering the White House because he knows how the White House works, right? Good for him. Fine. He did it. He was an effective president for the left. Okay, he was for the corporate left. He was, and he's puppet mastering.
He did a very good job for them.
For them, great. They got paid out a million times over. Greatest wealth transfers in human history under Obama.
It's interesting because people try to say, oh, it's the Republicans, it's the conservatives doing that, but it's not. It's the Democrats and the liberals who actually, pay homage to the corporate class.
Listen, if we were in charge of the corporate class wouldn't be getting away with half the things they're getting away with today.
That's the
I think they'd be targeting children like they currently are.
No,
all of that stuff wouldn't be happening. You can tell who's in charge of the regime by what the corporate class is doing.
No, you're absolutely right. All right, so tell me now, we see that, and there's a juxtaposition to President Trump, what he should be doing. Talk about the policies, the proposals that you feel Trump should be focusing on that are going to be key to just stick it to people. I think we need to scare the shit out of people. They need to wake up because we need to get another 15 million votes or something. We can't rely on, okay, he got more votes than any other president in American political history as an incumbent. Great. Where are we right now? We have to be able to reach out and get Reagan Democrats, moderates, libertarians, independents, etc., and wake people up to what's going on so that they actually feel motivated to cross over or whatever, or show up to get the job done. What does Trump have to focus on?
Truism in American politics, but it is going to be an it's the economy stupid election in a lot of ways.
Okay,
people are going to see a deep but hopefully very quick recession in the next couple of months, but it's going to be harsh. A lot of people laying off a lot of people right now. Big organization, and it's because they know it's coming, right?
Sure.
And so they're read into all of these things, so they can prepare in advance. People should be preparing themselves right now because that's what's coming. And so Donald Trump will have the backdrop of, hey, this guy has been telling you best economy, best employment. It's a Potemkin village. It's a fraud. It's a fake. It's a phony. It's gaslighting. It's smoke and mirrors.
It is gaslighting.
The whole
it's
way.
like the ultimate gaslight is what they're doing right now.
And so he will have that to talk to. And here's how we're going to, kickstart the economy. Here's how we got the economy going originally. When all of those sorts of things.
Like Schedule F stuff, talking about what he's going to do, because people want to know that there's going to be a difference. Like, what are you going to do different this time? How are we going to make it happen? And that's a fair question.
Yeah, I think, and also, I hate to say it this way because somebody will attack me for it, but women especially vote for security, and they vote for the security of their children. And I'm sorry to say this, but none of the other candidates on that primary stage even are going to look like they can provide the level of kind of toughness that Trump can do in that scenario. You're going to have the guy
Haley can't do it.
in Japan, and he's asked, "What are what is your polling numbers like?" And he goes, like that. You see that video of DeSantis, looking like a bobblehead. That's not somebody you feel safe and secure around. You could say a lot of things about Donald Trump, but if he's in the room with you, somebody starts swinging, he's a big guy,
No joke. You remember when he's pushing away and said, move out of the way.
in the EU.
I keep playing that. I'm like, and he's like pushing everyone out of the way, and it's just brutal. I mean, I've seen him do it at the G20.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it in person a million times, and I go like this.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Security concerns are going to be paramount, and security goes right to the heart of nationhood.
I think you're 1,000%. It's what I care about like the most. The economy for sure, but I care about foreign policy, national security. Like, wake the hell up, because
Safety
are
of your
we
children.
safe at night? When I go to bed at night, am I thinking things are okay, or I'm thinking we're getting our butt handed to us every single day? And by the way, who's laughing? And they're also like, we're just going to devalue the currency. In fact, we're going to change it altogether. China and Russia, North Korea, all these people are just sitting there laughing in our face. And if I were them, I'd be doing the same thing. And I'd be doing it as quickly as possible to try to unravel, this country, our strength, our positioning. No one's worried about, Biden. That's why Russia and Putin is on the march. That's why we have this mess in Ukraine. All of it has been destabilized by the Biden, regime, basically, is what I think.
And this is
I'll give you
where
the final word.
Well, this is where America First fits in, especially on foreign policy and domestic security issues as well. A lot of people liked to compare it with sort of isolationism and Ron Paul isolationism. Actually, it threads the needle of America's interest in the world, but prioritizing American interest at home, which is a lot of security and is a lot of national economy issues, in national infrastructure issues, securing jobs, that kind of thing. And people need to understand that threading that needle is extremely difficult because you have so many interests on the globalist side who are pulling everything in that direction. Yeah. And then you have so many interests on the political right, I think we'll find, into the isolationist sort of things, and you can land up somewhere in the middle, and that middle is American First national security issues.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel optimistic about this. When we laid it out, okay? It's a little bit of tough love conversation we have to have with the country, but ultimately they'll benefit if they listen to us.
I think so.
You know what I mean? So I think it'll be good. All right, Raheem, you and I have been friends for a very long time. You're fantastic. I want for you to tell the folks out there where they can follow you, watch you. You're the editor-in-chief of National Pulse. I take it away.
So thenationalpulse.com is the domain where we do all of the news. We're relaunching the site very soon, so it's going to be a little different, a little bit more faster paced. I think it's going to be really interesting for people to come to when they really want to get to the heart of the signal and not the noise, right? To use a coined phrase. And I have a Substack, raheemkassam.substack.com. That's my own sort of analytical musings. National Pulse for News.
All right, fantastic. And obviously on Twitter, Truth Social.
Oh, yeah, we're on all of those.
Oh,
yeah, we love Truth Social. We're on all of them. Raheem Kassam, The National Pulse.
All right, fantastic. Well, I appreciate you being here, and we'll have you back often. So you're always fantastic. You were great when Don Jr. had you on as well. All right, we have much more to come on the show today with House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan. And make sure you like, because did you like this with Raheem? You betcha. So like the episode, subscribe, Download the app on your phone, follow me, follow Don Jr., turn on notifications. But first, a word from our sponsors who make this show possible so we don't get canceled. We don't get that call, okay? And that's why I want to tell you about Goldco. Gold and silver can protect your retirement savings from inflation and dollar devaluation, which is a real concern these days. And we see all the economic warning signs, and I want you to be prepared. I'm prepared. I want you to be prepared. You can roll over your 401k or IRA into precious metals and safeguard your savings tax and penalty free. From precious metals, IRAs to direct purchases of gold and silver, Goldco has helped thousands of Americans diversify and protect their retirement savings. So go to kimsmetals.com to learn more. That's kimsmetals.com. And I also want to bring you a special message from Patriot Lifestyle, where you can save more and spend less on a whole host of different benefits, from non-insurance healthcare benefits to savings on travel, identity theft, legal services, and even pet care for your little favorite pooches. Take a look. Kimberly Guilfoyle. We've commissioned a lifestyle benefit program for our America First Patriots, Patriot Lifestyle. This program includes identity theft protection. And as a former prosecutor, I know that identity theft is the fastest growing crime in America. You also have free and discounted legal services, roadside assistance, travel discounts, cashback rewards while shopping on the internet, and our newest service, Pet Assure. Right, Mario and Luigi? Where you receive discounts at veterinarians across the country and pet supply stores. Patriot Lifestyle covers you, your family, and your furry friends for less than $1 a day. Follow the link and please sign up to get your Patriot Lifestyle started. And we'll continue to update you all on the Patriot Lifestyle programs. It's an extraordinary value and will improve your life. Now the Biden White House is on the defensive tonight after the House Judiciary Committee revealed testimony from former CIA Director Mike Morrell saying that Secretary of State Tony Blinken helped orchestrate the false October 2020 letter from so-called experts claiming the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. Now, of course, the Biden White House is desperate to distance themselves from this massive revelation, claiming the remarks were misleading. And get this. Another whistleblower is coming forward to the House Judiciary Committee, claiming that Joe Biden's government is acting as a middleman in a massive migrant child trafficking operation. Here's a clip from yesterday's hearing.
In my personal capacity as the deputy of the federal case management team, vetting, I would like to say with Mr. Kerry, what he said is they are not an investigative organization, nor are they law enforcement. There was no one. I was shocked and I am stunned that there was no one with law enforcement experience overseeing where children are going. You have people applying for children who we know are members of transnational criminal organizations.
Here to explain more on all of this, a total superstar, somebody that I admire greatly, Don Jr. admires, House Judiciary Chairman and friend of ours, Congressman Jim Jordan. Thank you so much for being on the program.
You bet. Thank you for having me, Kimberly. Good to be with you.
I'm telling you, you're kind of making everybody else look bad because you are doing such a good job. You got in there on day one in this position, have just been smashing it with amazing results that we sat there and held our breath for 4 years trying to wait to get something. But this shows that elections matter. Your vote matters. Having the majority matters because otherwise you don't get people like you in the positions that you need to be able to do the right thing for all the American people. I'm not talking about just conservatives or committed conservatives. I'm saying this should be a bipartisan issue, that we want to get to the bottom of this and stop with the cover-ups, stop with the nonsense of the people trying to destroy American democracy and make America less safe. So with that said, Chairman Jordan, I'm on fire.
And thanks for all you're doing. You've been fighting
a
good fight for American principles. We appreciate that too.
I appreciate that. So that's why it's important. We have shows like this because you see what happens. They're trying to cancel everybody before this 2024 election so that they can't get out there and talk. But like this program, like I can have you on, Don can have you on, and we're going to get the facts and the truth out to the American public. So let's hear more about this new whistleblower revealing a lack of vetting in the placement of migrant children. As a mother and mothers across this country, this is appalling. Tell us what you know.
No, it's terrible. 350,000 unaccompanied children coming into our country, coming across this now open border that Joe Biden has created, coming in, and the Biden administration doesn't know where 85,000 of those kids are at. They don't know. I mean, think about that. If that happened under Trump, oh my goodness, the media would be going crazy. Of course, it wouldn't happen under President Trump. We actually had the most secure border ever. But think about that 85,000 kids where they've lost, and that's not Jim Jordan saying it. That's the whistleblower, and the New York Times have said 85,000 kids unaccounted for. They don't know where they're at. They're somewhere in the country. And the places that they send the rest of the kids to, they don't vet whether the address the kid may have on a piece of paper on them or written on their hand or something. They don't vet where this child is gone. And the only real follow-up is a phone call to that number, to that place. And someone may not even answer the phone. That's what we're doing. The Biden policies are doing to kids. So God bless this whistleblower who came forward. We passed legislation last week, Kimberly, immigration enforcement legislation that would frankly take us back to the good policies we had under President Trump. We're going to pass it out of the House in 2 weeks. I think on May 11th, the day Title 42 goes away. We're going to pass it that day, and then we'll see what happens in the Senate. But we're going to get that bill out of the House and do what we told the American people we were going to do.
You have to have a plan and be proactive to be able to do this. You can't just sit back and have meetings about meetings. You actually have to get things done and move on target. And that's what you're doing. So it's just really restoring people's faith truly in American democracy, quite frankly, to be able to get this done. It's like people forget. It's fun and all, great to be the congressman or congresswoman or the chairman, but what are you actually doing to get something done for the American people? That's who you're supposed to be there for, to represent the electorate and write out these evils and these wrongs that are happening. So what does all this say about the Biden administration's total, mishandling of all the facets of this border crisis, record amount of fentanyl coming in? It breaks my heart every time I hear about someone, dying because they thought it was a Tylenol thing, but it's laced with fentanyl. It's just like a massive genocide of American young people in this country, and it's coming through that border.
All of this is a result of their intentional decisions on day one to undo the policies that President Trump had in place. Day one, they said, no more building the wall, no more remain in Mexico. When you get to the country, you will be released into the United States. Those three decisions, again, on day one, Joe Biden made that intentionally, deliberately, premeditated fashion, did those things. And the result is the fentanyl problem that almost every family now knows some other person, someone who's been impacted by fentanyl, maybe lost a loved one because of this terrible drug. So there's that issue. And then the issue I just talked about. These kids, 85,000, we have no idea where they're at, probably involved in some forced labor or even worse. So that is the result of the intentional decisions this administration made to undo the good policies that were in place, and our legislation would put back in place those good policies.
Yeah, and I'm so tired of these people. They think they're being, merciful, and this is what we do, and sanctuary. No, it's not. You're actually a co-conspirator and complicit in child and sex trafficking. That makes you a disgusting human being. Think about like a football field filled with children that are missing. We don't know where they are. We don't know how they are being abused, whether it's like labor, like you said, or sex trafficking. The whole thing to me is just repugnant, and all Americans should be upset about it. This isn't a partisan issue, but we have to have a whistleblower come forward. Well, guess what? Whistleblowers don't want to come forward if they're going to be, punished, mistreated, etc. Right. They don't trust the people in office to do something about it. They're trusting you and your committee to do something about it, that they can actually give you the information, and that says a lot. And people need to remember that. That's what we have to make sure and keep people like yourself, in office and in those positions. It is imperative for public safety, for child safety, to prevent child abuse, to save lives from drug abuse, in this country. But it really makes a difference.
Yeah, and this is not the only. We've had a number of FBI agents come to us as whistleblowers and talk to us about concerns they have. And many of those we believe have been retaliated against too. So you're right, they're brave people. But when they come forward, we learn important information, which helps us get that information to the American people, structure legislation to correct and remedy the situation. And then, frankly, if we have to, look at the appropriations process. Remember, the power of the purse is a powerful,
it is. And you have it, the power of the purse in Congress.
And we need to be able to use that sometimes.
Okay, so this is just one example that we're talking about and touching on right now of this administration's, nonstop scandals and just abuses. So we also got big revelations last week about former CIA Director Mike Morrell and Tony Blinken's alleged involvement in putting together the false letter about the Hunter Biden laptop. What is the latest updates there? Tell us something that we don't know.
Well, we will be interviewing Mr. Clapper and Mr. Brennan as well. We had Mr. Morrell a couple of weeks ago, learned all kinds of valuable information there. Mr. Morrell was sort of the guy who put it all together. But let's move to the end of that story. The end of that story was on October 22nd, 2020, that final debate, where Joe Biden said 51 former intel officials said this. And the way he presented it, the way the president presented it in that debate with President Trump, was he presented it as if this was organic. It just happened. Well, that was the furthest thing from the truth. It was coordinated with the Biden campaign. So the story comes out on October 14th, 2020 from the New York Post about the Biden laptop. 3 days later on the 17th, Tony Blinken, working for the Biden campaign, current Secretary of State, contacts Mike Morrell, asks him about the Russian information. Could it be Russian disinformation operation here? Ask him about it, prompts Morrell to dig into it. The next 2 days, Blinken also sends him later that day, sends him a story on that issue. The next 2 days, Mike Morrell puts together the 50 other people who signed the letter, the now famous letter. Mm-hmm. They sign it not just with their name, but also their former title, whether they were CIA director, acting director, head of ODNI, whatever their title was, to give it this weight, this gravitas. They put it all together. The Biden campaign even tells Mike Morrell and the folks he's working with who they want this to go to in the press. Give it to the Washington Post first, then give it to this reporter. Natasha Bertrand from Politico is ultimately the one who runs with the story and writes the story. And of course, then on the 22nd, Joe Biden uses it in the debate. And then after the debate, Mr. Morrell gets a phone call from Steve Ricchetti, the campaign chair of the Biden campaign, and Mr. Ricchetti thanks him for putting it all together. That is how political this operation was. Terrible. And the kicker is, it was false. It wasn't a Russian disinformation operation. The information on the laptop was accurate.
Yeah, I mean, and we were saying that all along, and then turns out here it is. Yep. It's true. But now this isn't speculation or conjecture. This is facts that have been proved up. So, all right, this week you also subpoenaed.
This is Mike Morrell testifying under oath.
Under oath, yeah.
Laying this out, so we know it's true.
Absolutely. All right. Now, this week, you also subpoenaed an FBI official named Jennifer Moore about the FBI's retaliation against the whistleblowers. How does this tie into your larger investigation into the weaponization, which is my favorite thing to say every day, weaponization of the federal government?
Jennifer Moore is the individual who signs off and takes the clearance. She's the ultimate one who signs the paper and takes the clearance away from FBI agents. This is part of the retaliation. You get your clearance. You're an FBI agent. They take your clearance away. You're basically done.
Right.
It's like the first step in firing these guys. We think it's retaliation. Let me just give you one example. One of these people who's been retaliated against is the agent who helped us get information about the DOJ and the targeting of parents. Remember this issue 2 years ago, where the DOJ said we're going to use the Patriot Act, this memorandum that Attorney General Garland put out at the prompting of the National School Board Association. One of these agents who's been retaliated was the agent who helped us understand that situation. We've had another agent who's been, but we think, been retaliated against because they helped get information out about what the FBI thought about the issue at the Richmond field office, where the Richmond field office put out this memo. They call it a domain perspective. Put out this memo that says we're looking to put snitches, sources inside the Catholic Church, inside the parish, to snitch and talk about fellow parishioners, people going to church there.
How crazy is this? I'm Catholic. I don't understand. I didn't think we were so nefarious or that interesting.
Great point, Kimberly, because basically when you read through this memorandum, they talk about radical traditional Catholic, and they talk about the Dobbs decision. They talk basically what they define as a radical traditional Catholic. You can sort of read between the lines, look at the footnotes. It's a pro-life Catholic. I was doing an interview with Sean Duffy, and we were talking. I said, Sean, they're talking about your family. You and Rachel, you got 10 kids. You're Catholic family. That's who they're talking about. They're a radical family because they're pro-life Catholic. It's really disgusting. Now, the FBI withdrew that memorandum, thank goodness. But would they have done that but for this brave whistleblower getting this information to us?
They wouldn't.
I don't know. I'd like to think so, but I don't know.
Well, you're a more positive person than I am, I guess. I don't know. I've become cynical in my old prosecutorial age. But here's another thing I want to talk to you about. Oh, my God. All right. So this Manhattan DA, he's got me bugged out. As a former, prosecutor, I take the job so seriously. It's one of the best jobs you can have because you have tremendous discretion to make sure that justice is served and to understand the facts, the evidence, to apply them without bias, without, selective prosecution, malicious prosecution. So this Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, recently dropped this appeal after a federal judge ruled that an ex-prosecutor in his office can be subpoenaed by your committee. So what are the next steps? And I love that power move. And it's one you should be doing because this is outrageous. To do it to the, sitting president or former sitting president of the United States, it can do it to anybody. It's such an abuse of power. Yeah. If you get a chance, read the court's opinion, read the court's decision. I mean, it was so strong in our favor. And that's why on May 12th, Mr. Pomerantz, who used to work for Mr. Bragg, who left a year ago, who wrote the book solely on this subject about going after former President Trump, will be, in fact, sitting for a deposition in front of our committee. But in the broader picture, think about it. Alvin Bragg used federal tax dollars to indict a former president for no crime, for nothing. And then when we want to talk to someone who worked for him but left a year ago, he took us to court. And the judge said, no, there's a legitimate legislative purpose that we have. This guy hasn't worked there a year. He wrote a book on this subject. He has to come sit for a deposition. Absolutely. And we look forward to that. Well, we're going to ask him about things he said in the book. And we're going to ask him about any possible involvement by the Biden Justice Department in this case. We'll ask him those kind of questions. Well, that's going to be must-see viewing, let me tell you, because I love to hear the answers to that. And that guy waived any right or privilege to be able to not discuss this or withhold facts or information. The guy left the office. He wrote the book, like you said. So, yes, very strong opinion, it's by the judge. So that's good. When can we expect that hearing to take place? Well, we'll be hearing first. There'll be a deposition, but that deposition will be in 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks from now. Let's on write May 12th. That down. All right, we don't want to miss it. That's for sure. All right. So when you look ahead, when you think about it, what will be your measure? Like, what do you say for yourself? And you've had so much, success, and that people respect you, really on both sides of the aisle. Quite frankly, what's going to be your personal definition and measure of success for your work on this important Judiciary Committee? I think it's the broad issue of the Judiciary Committee historically has been that committee charged with protecting the Constitution and in particular the Bill of Rights. When you think about the Bill of Rights, you think about the First Amendment, and that's what's under assault right now. I mean, you think about when we had in two of the authors of the Twitter files, two journalists who are testifying in front of the committee, and Democrat members of Congress are asking those journalists to divulge their sources. And while that's happening, the IRS is actually knocking on one of those journalists' door while he's testifying to our committee. I mean, this weaponization of government, this turning of the agencies on we the people, and the attack on the First Amendment and limiting speech, limiting our ability to access information, share information online, like information online, this visibility filtering that they were doing at the prompting of the government during the 2020 campaign. That is our big concern, and that's what we're really trying to focus on. And if we can draw attention to that and then stop that from happening, respect for the First Amendment, then we've done our job. No, absolutely. And so how do you feel in general, about the House GOP? It was a tough battle to get everyone in, to get the majority. Yeah. It was also a very, contentious, but I think healthy debate is good for everyone. What signs of success do you think there are so far, and how would you assess the leadership of House Speaker McCarthy? I think he's done a good job, a darn good job. 87,000 IRS agents, we passed the bill to get rid of those. A good energy package we passed. We will pass a good immigration package. We were talking about that earlier. We're going to do the oversight we need to do. We just passed a debt ceiling a bill that actually cuts more spending, focuses on the kind of thing, gets rid of those money for the 87,000 IRS agents, does a lot of good work requirements for welfare recipients in that legislation. So we're doing what President Trump did. Doing what we told the American people we were going to do. I always say we make this job too complicated. What'd you tell the voters you were going to do when you ran for it? Go do that. That's exactly what President Trump did. Put it on an index card. The leaders doing, speakers doing. That's what we're supposed to do as members of Congress. All right, and it sounds like so far so good. I mean, Kevin McCarthy seems like Speaker McCarthy, his approval ratings, his numbers are going up. You seem like you guys are all working pretty well together. Yep. I agree, and that's what we need to do, particularly when you think about how crazy the left is and their crazy policies that they're trying to put on the country. We better stick together, and we better fight the left
every single day.
I know. We need each and every one of you to do that. That's for sure. Well, you've always been fantastic, great patriot, one hell of a wrestler. Jeez. That's what I think we need to do. It's winner takes all, and you wrestle each one of those. you win, we win. All right. Congressman Jordan, great job as chairman. Look forward to having you on the